Well, it feels good to finally say these words again, but it is officially game week for the Sacred Heart Pioneers University hockey team. We're back on another edition of the SHU Hockey podcast. Joining us now is the strength and conditioning coach, Keith Parker. Keith, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. You know, Keith, this is the first time since March where we can officially say this, that it is officially game week for the Pioneers. What are you looking forward to this weekend against Holy Cross?
I think it's just being able to see the guys finally put it all together on the ice. You know, we've been grinding away these past couple months through all this, through everything with COVID and everything we've been through. But it's good to see that we're finally going to put it all together and see what happens here.
And this is our first game following a 2-week shutdown where we scheduled to play our first game November 21st at AIC. But December 4th and December 6th are the two first games for the Pioneers. But let's dive into this interview. Keith, you are the strength and conditioning coach here at Sacred Heart. Talk about how you started. Where did you start hockey? How did you get into strength and conditioning? And what led you to Sacred Heart?
Well, hockey I started. I got a little later start than most people. I was about 5 or 6 when I finally got on the ice. But it was I'm from Ohio, and the AHL team that was there at the time was the Cleveland Lumberjacks, and they put together a little like off-ice floor hockey kind of thing at a local park by me. And my parents signed me up for it. I went over there, and I immediately just loved it, smacking the puck around, running around, having a blast. But after that, got on the ice and went to a couple camps, and finally ended up playing some organized hockey. So it was a fun journey. But getting into strength conditioning, I kind of obviously playing hockey my whole life. I knew I wanted to work with hockey, and I didn't really know until towards the end of my undergrad when I was in Missouri that I wanted to do strength conditioning. So I sought out some opportunities within grad schools that, had hockey programs. So I ended up at Miami, Ohio, down in Oxford, Ohio there. And, started my journey there. I was an intern there for a couple of years and, started working the hockey team there, and then got my opportunity to get a job here. And ever since then, it's been a blast. Enjoy working with the guys here and, seeing what they can do on and off the ice.
So take us through a game week in a normal year. How do you keep the guys physically and even mentally prepared as game day approaches?
Yeah, so typically we lift twice a week, so I don't see them as much as obviously when we went through these couple months of off season where I was seeing them 4 or 5 times a week. But now it's just making sure they're feeling right, making sure we're doing the right things to, one, maintain what we've done in the off season, but also 2, make them feel good, explosive, ready to go come that puck drop on Friday night. But yeah, it's we'll lift on Mondays, and then, we obviously have practice every day, but we get our kind of more strength work in then, and then we move forward and trying to get a little more explosive as the week goes on and making sure they're feeling good and ready to go come Friday.
Many people behind the scenes of hockey and the casual fan don't really understand what goes into the strength and conditioning aspect of it. But aside from playing the game, how important is it for a hockey player, especially at the Division I level, to maintain their diet and to maintain the exercise that they do day in and day out?
Oh, it's crucial. It's, the skill and the speed, everything you see on the ice is one thing. That's just everything kind of coming together. But like you said, not everyone sees that grind on a daily basis of, making sure they're fueling their body right, making sure they're doing the things that they need to do in order to be able to perform come game time. It's a very difficult process. It's obviously there's times where we have to push a little bit more off the ice and, on the ice as well. But besides that, it's a crucial part of the process is day in, day out, whether it comes to nutrition, on off-ice training, on the ice, skill training, sleep, diet, all that. It's a very grinding process, and, our guys do a great job of making sure they're staying on top of that stuff throughout the season.
Is there any particular player that you can recall, either currently playing or in the past, who you've seen grow and really exceptionally just take it to the next level?
Yeah, one person that, immediately comes to mind is one of our guys now, Kevin Lombardi. He last year, he's just very tall, large dude. He was a kind of an awkward mover at first, but you can tell this summer and this off season, he really put the work in. He put the work in off the ice. I saw everything he was doing over the summer, and he put the work in, and now it's showing. He's out on the ice. He's moving around. He's taking control of the game more so than he was last year, which is that's what's fun for me on my side of things, is seeing all that kind of play out onto the ice.
How do you work out with a player that, let's say, has been injured and is, trying to get back into the game routine. Obviously, you don't want to re-aggravate that injury, but when they're in like the rehab phase, what do you got to do to make sure that, yes, they're staying healthy, but they're also not, having further injury?
Yeah, so that kind of comes down to the relationship Ben St. Martin and I have, that, just working real closely, making sure we're both on the same page and that the athlete's on the same page. And, obviously we need to continue to work in the weight room, not just sit out, and make sure we're, staying strong in other areas. So basically what it comes down to is just avoiding that pain. If there's something that hurts, we try to modify it. We alter the exercise, whatever it may be, just to make sure that they're still getting what they need out of the weight room. They're still being able to perform on the ice, if they're still on the ice, and then just going from there and, slowly building them back in to try to get them back to where they were before that injury, and hopefully prevent it from happening again.
So obviously this is a very different year. How has COVID affected your job specifically and how you work with players?
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy semester, I'll say that. Going through, normally we get 3, 4, 5 weeks at most in the off season once they come back before we're in the games. So on that side of it, it was kind of a blessing in disguise. So we kind of, we had, I think, almost 8, 9 weeks, now 10 weeks now that we're sitting here with this little pause that we had. But I think from that side, it was, like I said, a blessing in disguise. It allowed us to develop a little bit more, allowed us to get our strength back from that long layoff. But, now going into this, it definitely throws a little loop into the system because, guys are missing if they test positive for COVID or their roommate does, and now we got to sit out for 2 weeks. It definitely changes what we do. Can't just continue to build or continue to grow off of what we're doing. That 2 weeks can, take a toll on them, especially if they get sick.
Keith, last year the season had an abrupt end, but obviously the highlight of that year was the Connecticut Ice tournament. But we'll touch on that later in the interview. But when the players got sent home due to the COVID-19 pandemic back in March, did you have any contact with them in the off season, especially when you couldn't even enter the gym? How did you make sure that they were maintaining their diet and, quite frankly, maintaining their exercise when you physically cannot see them?
Yeah, so that was a pretty big challenge, honestly, and that was kind of, you could see it across the country. Every school was dealing with this, but the biggest thing was just stay moving. Obviously you don't have weights, you don't have a gym, but there's still 100 different things that you can do, whether that's speed work, whether that's sprinting, conditioning, whatever it may be. But that kind of was the message I was trying to get to our guys was, at least do something. It's better than just sitting at home for those 5 months, which I think our guys did a really good job doing. They came back and they were in as good a shape as they could be coming into those first couple of weeks. But yeah, it was a difficult obstacle to overcome. I think we did a pretty good job of it, trying to stay active and trying to stay on top of the best we could with the circumstances that we had.
Keith, what's the biggest thing that you missed from a regular season, or even with the season being on hold for the past couple of weeks? What's the biggest thing you've missed? Was it just being with the guys in general, or was it something more specific?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of that. Obviously, the road trips and the travel is a blast, and seeing that. But I think the thing I miss the most is kind of like what I touched on earlier, is just seeing all the work that they put in and actually seeing it come to full outcome onto the ice there. That to me is the most rewarding part, is when a guy, like I said, I was talking about Kevin earlier, you see the work that they do, and then they get out on the ice and it comes to, and they start performing better. So not being able to see that, I think, is the part that I miss the most. And then obviously, like you said, hanging out with the guys on the road trips, being around them all the time, it's been definitely a little more distant at this point, just because of the circumstances. But
Keith, describe your relationship with the staff aside from the coaches. Last year was your first year with Sacred Heart. This is now your second, but you've made friends with Ben St. Martin, like you mentioned, Matt Carroll, the equipment manager. How have they made your job easier, and how have they made your transition easier to becoming the strength and conditioning coach here at SHU?
Yeah, they've been a huge part of it, especially, like you said, Ben St. Martin. We've been pretty close from the get-go. We have to be with the way our jobs are, but just getting to know everybody. They welcomed me in like family. It was a cool experience last year, and obviously this year going forward. But from the time I met them, they were all welcoming. They were family. And CJ, he invited me to his house for Thanksgiving last year. So they pulled me right in, made me feel part of the Sacred Heart family, and it's been a great experience coming in here.
So being at Sacred Heart, do you have a favorite moment or experience, maybe a specific game or even just Connecticut Ice as a whole? Probably, I would guess, would be an ideal answer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was a very, very cool experience. Going from our typical kind of large stadium, not a ton of fans in there, like so that seeing that place packed and the people going, the students going crazy for the guys, it was a very cool experience. And like I said, it kind of comes down to that what we were saying earlier with all the work they put in day out with nutrition, sleep, training, on ice training, like seeing all that finally come through, and the guys get rewarded for it. So that was definitely you hit the nail on the head there. That was probably one of the coolest experiences I've experienced as a coach.
Keith, this season is a season like no other. And aside from, the regular exercise that the guys do, you have to maintain your healthy diet and, eat the right foods. Obviously, with everything, happening last year with, restaurants being closed, like I asked you with, the exercise, what was the biggest message to the team about eating properly, especially being home for 5 months?
Yeah, I think honestly it was a good thing that restaurants are closed, because a lot of people, I know myself even, like it's easy to get into that trap of, oh, I'll just go pick up food on the way home or whatever it is. So with when we're talking diet, whole foods, good, fruits, veggies, lean meats, that kind of thing. It's much easier to track that and kind of stay on top of things when you're cooking it yourself. So it's, in a way, it was kind of a good thing. I think some of the guys I know I've talked to have tried different diets and tried different things that have come to work for them. And I think in all reality, it was a very good thing, the way kind of things played out. But hopefully they'll be able to carry that on going forward, even though now everything's kind of obviously still weird, but a little bit back to a little more normal than we were before when that all originally happened.
Has there been like a reoccurring message you've had with the team? Something like, keep on going, we'll get there. Just something that you've kept saying over the past few months to keep their spirits up, just keep them alive.
Yeah, obviously that's kind of the big message is like it's going to happen eventually. We're going to get to that game time, and here we are. We're a couple of days away from our first game, and that's just the thing. Like most of these guys play for a certain reason, whether that be for their family, whether that be for to win a championship, whether that be to get to the next level with professional hockey. You just got to kind of constantly remind them that we're still working towards that, even though this is a weird year, even though this is a different time. Like we still have those goals. We still have those things that we need to work for. It's not going away. It will happen, and we will kind of move forward. But besides that, just the constant making sure we're taking care of ourselves, because when that time comes, when this puck drops on Friday night, we got to be ready. And that's kind of the message that we've been putting out to them the whole semester.
What have you done aside from working out during the quarantine? Have you, binge watch any shows, any movies? How did you keep the 5 months from not being this daunting cloud?
Yeah, so definitely tried to stay exercise as much as possible. I was home for a while there and didn't have access to a weight room, so I was out on a bike a lot. So doing that and just staying active, being outside. But definitely watch a decent amount of Netflix, played some good Call of Duty, played some NHL. So it's been kind of a weird time. We don't normally get that much free time, so it's kind of hard. I'm sure everyone kind of went through that, trying to figure out how to occupy their time and stay active, stay sane. But yeah, it's a lot of video games, a lot of exercise, and just about everybody else doing the same thing.
I wish I could say the same for myself. I just gave up on all exercise, just went right to the video games.
Keith,
But
one of my last questions is before I let Jack ask another one. Did you happen to enjoy, the free time during the quarantine? I mean, for myself, it was kind of not really this enjoyable factor, but just to relax and kind of just not have anything to worry about. It was kind of, not bad, but it kind of got old as it continued on.
Yeah, absolutely. The 5 months of it definitely got a little old after a while, but I will say the one thing out of it is you got to spend 2-3 months with my family, which, typically I don't get to do, being, with the strength conditioning. It's a year-round grind, and it's out. So that side of it was very nice. And first couple weeks, it was great. Just kick back, relax, stay up as late as you want, wake up whenever you want. But yeah, it was good though. Try to stay occupied, try to still learn, and try to do some reading. Follow some seminars and all that. Stay active and try to continue my education, all that. But yeah, it was definitely a kind of hate-love relationship going through that whole process there.
yeah, for sure. I mean, the real trick is to not lose your mind during all
Absolutely.
this. But Will, I'm all good on questions.
Yeah, Keith, one last thing from me. As we head into the first game on Friday, is there a particular, we've said goodbye to a lot of successful, alumni over the past year, including Jason Cotton, Austin McElmurray, Mike Lee. Is there a player that was a freshman last year that you think is really going to take the next step into this year? Just being around the team, like you see it firsthand. You're at the practices, you're at the lift, you're at the skates, you're at the games. Is there, player or players in mind?
Yeah, the big one that I kind of talked about earlier with Kevin, he just seeing the work that he put in and see how he's doing on the ice now. I think he's going to make a big difference this year. Timmy Clifton, he put a lot of work in this summer. I'm hoping he gets some good shot out this weekend, and I just hopefully it all pays off and we kind of see these guys start to thrive again. We obviously, like you said, lost some good guys last year, but I think our team's ready to go, and I think there's some guys ready to step up and step into those roles.
How difficult is it for a transfer student, and I'm referring to last year, and a guy like Evan Wasaki who transferred over and had to sit out a couple of games, how difficult was it for you to make sure he was already doing the exercise and the diet and then getting him to Sacred Heart's way of doing it?
Yeah, no, he was great working with him coming in. He was open to everything we were trying to do, so he made it easy on me. I think the biggest thing, it's tough. You ask any of those guys that maybe not play for a short stretch of period, and obviously he knows he's not playing because he couldn't step on the ice with us, and so it's mostly just trying to keep them motivated and try to make sure they're like we were talking earlier, like we have a goal here, we know we're getting there, it will come. So just trying to keep him motivated and making sure that he's where he needs to be when he was able to step on the ice there.
Are you confident that we play the full season this year? I know it's hard to say because everything changes day by day, but you have to stay confident. And I personally think we're going to have a really successful season this year.
No, absolutely. That's kind of the mindset you have to go into with. We gotta have that mindset that we're going to play every weekend, and we might hit some hiccups like we did these past 2 weeks, and all you can do there is play with the hand you're dealt with, and just keep moving forward and work towards what we can do. And if we lose a couple games, if we don't, then so be it. We gotta take care of what we can take care of and not worry about those outside circumstances.
Well, Keith, you've been great. There is just one last question that I was going to ask at the top of the show, and I waited till now. But when we're on the road, you organize all the meals that we eat on the bus, and then we go out to eat, the Thursday prior to like a road trip. What do you have to look for when you're planning these meals? I know it sounds a lot easier than it looks, but are you looking for something in particular when you're ordering the dinner on the bus? Are you making sure it's with the team's diet and all that?
Yeah, so basically what it comes down to is just finding something that's, relatively healthy that is going to help us recover, basically, is what it kind of comes down to. Making sure we get the proper nutrients, we're getting the proper protein recovery, enough carbohydrates for our body to replenish itself so we're ready to go in the morning when we wake up and we have to skate, when we come to that game day or the next day again. But, it changes obviously week to week, but depending on where we're at, some places have certain things that guys like, some things that places that don't. But we just gotta, we find what we can find and make sure they're getting the fuel that they need to continue playing.
Well, Keith, we appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll see you on Friday.
All right, man. Sounds good. Have a good one.
Well, like we said, it's finally game week. And I don't know about you, but I'm excited.
Yeah, Keith hit on a lot of good things. We asked him a lot of questions, and he gave really thorough answers. But primarily the biggest story of this show happens to be that Sacred Heart plays hockey games, meaningful hockey games against Atlantic hockey opponents just this week in about 4 days from now. And at this time Friday, the bus is going to be ready, loaded, and we're going to be on our way to Worcester, Massachusetts to play Holy Cross, Friday and Sunday. And I can't tell you that how much the team has went through from having an abrupt season last year come to a close with as good of a season that the team had. They were ranked a couple of times last season. They've had a lot of historic moments, including Austin McElmurray leading the nation in power play goals, Jason Cotton signing a professional contract, Vito Bavaro, all, players like that, Mike Lee, Braden Tuck winning Rookie of the Year, just a lot of historic moments last year for the team. And to see it all come full circle and to see it now on December 1st saying we're going to be playing hockey on December 4th, if you'd have told me this back in April, I would not have believed you, but here we are.
No, so much has filtered into this, and it's really incredible how much anticipation has gone into this game. And like I said, I'm just so excited to see what the guys bring. They've been waiting for a long time for this, and so have we.
Yeah, I'm going to do a brief rundown about the team's recent games against Holy Cross last year. Thursday, November 7th and November 8th, they split that home and home, and it's been a pretty even series between the two teams, between Holy Cross and Sacred Heart. They've had a lot of good games, and there's been a couple blowouts, but other than that, it's been pretty even. And these are two even teams going head to head, and Holy Cross played the inaugural team, LIU. They split the series, I believe, a week and a half ago. So they've played a couple of games. Sacred Heart has not. So we got to be ready to go on Friday, and I think we will be.
No, yeah, Holy Cross definitely has a little bit more of an edge. I think being that they played already, but I mean, like I said, what we've seen in practices and what these guys have gone through, they're more than ready to get back out there. I think it's going to be a really good game that we're going to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will have a recap of the weekend's games next podcast. We might have a coach on to discuss what they liked and what they didn't like over the weekend. So until then, Will Pesic, Jack Govan on the SHU Hockey Podcast. Until next week.
Stay safe. Go Pios. We'll see you next week.